The unseen threat. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars, planets, and species, each with their own stories and histories. But amidst all the chaos, there was one species that had always been underestimated: humans. For centuries, Earth's presence in the universe was barely noticed, tucked away in a quiet corner of space. But all of that was about to change. In the heart of space, far beyond Earth's reach, an ancient alien fleet gathered. These ships, dark and silent, were a sight that no one had seen for centuries. They were remnants of a forgotten war, built by a species that once ruled the stars. The galaxy had moved on, and the fleet had been left to rot in the darkness, hidden away in the farthest corners of the universe. No one thought these ships would ever be used again. But the universe had a different plan. The alien fleet, long thought to be a relic of the past, began to stir. Slowly, methodically, the ships powered up. Engines hummed to life, and the dark shadows of these massive vessels began to move. They had been awakened, but who had awakened them? What could possibly be so important that this long-forgotten armada was being called into action? Back on Earth, no one had a clue. Life continued as usual. Humans went about their day-to-day routines, not realizing that the galaxy around them was about to be shaken to its core. But something was different in the air. An unsettling feeling lingered in the depths of space. It was as if the stars themselves were watching. And then it came. A single message, broadcast across the stars, reached the ears of every civilization within range. The message was simple, chilling, and to the point. War has a price you'll regret. The message echoed through the galaxy, leaving all who heard it in stunned silence. No one knew where it came from, or who sent it. But the implications were clear. The galaxy was on the edge of something terrible, something no one had expected. The warning was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before. The Galactic Council, a group of the most powerful species in the universe, quickly gathered to discuss the mysterious message. They had dealt with threats before, but nothing like this. There had been rumors of a powerful unknown force lurking in the darkest corners of space, but no one had ever taken them seriously. Now, they had no choice but to listen. It could be a bluff, one of the council members said, his voice filled with skepticism. We've seen these kinds of warnings before. They're just trying to intimidate us. Another council member, a towering figure from a race of warriors, spoke up. What if it's not a bluff? What if this warning is real? The universe is vast, and we are not the only ones with power. We must take this seriously. The council debated fiercely, but no consensus was reached. Some wanted to ignore the warning, believing it was nothing more than a trick. Others argued that they needed to prepare for the worst. But one thing was clear. They were all afraid. They were afraid of what the message meant, and more importantly, they were afraid of what might be coming. Meanwhile, on Earth, the people went about their lives, unaware of the Galactic Council's discussions. They had no idea that their world was on the brink of something far greater than they could imagine. They didn't know that their entire future was about to change in ways they couldn't possibly predict. In the quiet of the night, Earth's defense systems were quietly upgraded. Satellites, once designed to monitor weather patterns, were now scanning the skies for any signs of unusual activity. The governments of Earth began to take precautions, but it was already too late. The unseen threat was already moving, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. The alien fleet, now fully powered and ready for battle, began its journey toward Earth. They traveled at speeds unimaginable, cutting through space with ease. The ships were silent, their movements precise and calculated. They were not here to negotiate, and they were not here to befriend the humans. They were here to deliver a message that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. As the fleet drew closer to Earth, the galaxy held its breath. No one knew what would happen next. Would the humans fight back? Or would they simply surrender, like so many other species had done before them? The only thing that was certain was that humanity's fate was about to be sealed. Back on Earth, the skies began to darken. Something in the air felt different, as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. And then, in the midst of the quiet, the message came again. War has a price you'll regret. This time, it wasn't just a broadcast. It was a warning. And it was clear. The unseen threat was real, and it was coming for Earth. As the alien fleet drew closer, one question remained in everyone's mind. What price would humanity have to pay for this war? Would they be able to survive, or would they be wiped out by the forces they could not comprehend? The galaxy was about to find out. The warning had been clear, and the galaxy had hoped it was just a shadow on the horizon. But as the alien fleet neared Earth, it became clear that the threat was real, and it was terrifying. Humanity had always prided itself on its ability to adapt, to survive in the face of adversity. But this was different. The fleet that approached Earth was not like any enemy they had ever encountered. These were not the usual invaders seeking to conquer for resources or power. No, this fleet was something far worse. Its silence was ominous, and its intent was anything but unclear. On Earth, governments scrambled to respond. The sudden appearance of the fleet sent waves of panic through the world. World leaders met in secret, trying to come up with a plan to defend their planet. But the truth was, they had no idea what to do. Earth's defenses, though formidable in their own right, were not prepared for an enemy like this. As the days passed, the fleet grew ever closer, and the people of Earth began to feel the weight of the situation. Cities went into lockdown. Military units were put on high alert. People gathered in shelters, wondering if they would ever see the light of day again. The message had been a warning, but no one knew what it truly meant. They could only brace themselves for what was to come. The alien fleet didn't wait long before it made its move. In a flash of light, the first strike hit. The force of it was unimaginable. It wasn't like any weapon Earth had ever seen. It wasn't a simple blast or a missile. No, this was something far more advanced, something designed to tear through defenses with a single blow. Earth's largest cities were the first to feel the wrath of the alien fleet. New York, Paris, Tokyo, they all fell silent. Buildings crumbled. The Earth itself shook under the force of the alien weaponry. The sky turned dark, filled with smoke and ash, as if the planet itself was mourning. The devastation was unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. The first wave of destruction was swift and unforgiving. There was no warning, no time to react. The sheer speed of the attack left the humans powerless to stop it. All their technology, all their weapons, were useless against the onslaught. They had underestimated the alien fleet, thinking that their defenses would be enough. But now, they knew the terrible truth. Earth was vulnerable. As the chaos spread, Earth's leaders gathered once more. There was no time to waste. The world had to act, and act quickly. The decision was made. Earth would fight back. But even as the decision was made, the fear settled in. Could they really win against such an advanced force? The aliens had shown no mercy in their first strike, and there was no reason to believe they would stop now. It was a fight that humanity had no choice but to take on. But deep down, every person on Earth knew that this could be the beginning of the end. As military forces mobilized and cities rallied to defend themselves, the world's eyes turned to the skies. The alien fleet loomed overhead, silent, ominous, and waiting for humanity's next move. Earth's forces began to gather, but they were no match for the alien ships that towered above them. And then, just as Earth began to prepare its defenses, the aliens made their second move. This time, it wasn't a direct attack. Instead, the fleet sent a single message to Earth, one that would echo across the planet. Resist, and you will regret it. It was a cold, chilling threat, one that carried the weight of something far darker than anything humanity had ever faced. The aliens weren't just here to conquer. They weren't just here to destroy. They were here to send a message that would resonate across the universe. And that message was clear. Humanity was nothing more than a stepping stone, a mere obstacle in their path. In that moment, humanity understood the true cost of the war that had been thrust upon them. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for the future of the entire galaxy. And the price would be steep. With their backs against the wall, humanity's leaders turned to one final desperate measure. They knew they couldn't fight this battle alone. If they were going to survive, they needed something more than just military strength. They needed a secret weapon, something hidden in the depths of Earth's forgotten history. There was no time to waste. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was on the line. And so, the countdown began. The first strike had been devastating. The second was a chilling reminder of the aliens' power. But humanity wasn't ready to give up just yet. They had one final hope. And with that hope, they would fight for everything they held dear. Would it be enough? Only time would tell. The countdown continued. As Earth reeled from the first devastating strikes of the alien fleet, a quiet panic spread across the planet. The devastation was unimaginable, and despite their best efforts, the forces of Earth could not stop the relentless onslaught. Cities lay in ruins, governments were in disarray, and the people were beginning to lose hope. The future of humanity seemed bleak. Yet, deep within the heart of Earth, hidden beneath layers of secrecy and forgotten history, there was a weapon, a secret weapon, that could change everything. It was something the world's leaders had only heard whispers of, a relic from a time before history was even written. The weapon was old, older than the oldest civilization on Earth, and no one knew its full power. But one thing was clear. It was humanity's last hope. In a dark, underground facility, hidden from the public eye, a group of scientists and military officers worked feverishly to activate the weapon. They knew that this was their only chance to turn the tide. But the clock was ticking. The alien fleet was moving closer, and every passing moment brought them closer to Earth's final destruction. The weapon, known only as the Arcanum, was said to be a remnant of an ancient human civilization that existed long before recorded history. The legends surrounding it were vague and fragmented, but they all told the same story. The weapon had the power to shift the balance of power in the universe. Some believed it was an advanced form of energy manipulation, while others thought it was something more, a force that could rewrite the very laws of physics. As the facility buzzed with activity, Commander Julian Blake, the head of Earth's defense forces, paced anxiously. His team was working around the clock to bring the Arcanum to life, but every test they ran brought more questions than answers. "Is it ready?" he asked, his voice tense with urgency. Dr. Sarah Morgan, the lead scientist, nodded grimly. "We've powered it up, but we don't know what it will do. We only know it was built to defeat something far greater than us." Her eyes scanned the readouts on the nearby screen, her face a mixture of hope and fear. "But the aliens, they're unlike anything we've ever faced." Blake's mind raced. He knew the alien fleet had advanced technology, but this weapon, this Arcanum, could be their only hope. The legends spoke of it being able to create energy blasts that could obliterate entire fleets, even destroy entire planets. If it worked, it would be enough to stop the aliens in their tracks. If it didn't, Earth would fall. The decision was made. The Arcanum would be deployed. There was no time for hesitation. As the team activated the final stages of the weapon, Blake looked out the window, his gaze shifting toward the darkened sky above. The alien fleet was close now. Too close. In a matter of hours, the world as they knew it could be gone. "We're ready," Dr. Morgan said, her voice steady but filled with tension. Blake turned to the officers surrounding him. "Prepare for launch. This is our last shot." In a hidden chamber deep beneath the surface of Earth, a massive ancient device hummed to life. The Arcanum, a series of strange metallic structures intertwined with glowing, pulsing energy fields, came to life with a sound that resonated through the very core of the planet. Its power was immense, unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The sky above Earth began to tremble as the first rays of the weapon's energy shot upward, tearing through the atmosphere. In space, the alien fleet was just moments away from entering Earth's orbit. The fleet, unaware of the weapon's activation, continued its course. Then, without warning, the first blast from the Arcanum ripped through space, a beam of pure, concentrated energy that struck the heart of the alien fleet. The energy was so powerful, so intense, that it illuminated the night sky like a second sun. The shockwave of the blast rocked the alien fleet, sending shockwaves through their ships. For the first time, they were forced to react. Their advanced shields flickered, struggling to contain the force of the blast. Some ships were torn apart by the sheer power, their hulls shattered into pieces, drifting through space like debris. But the fleet was not defeated. The alien forces retaliated, launching counterattacks, but they were caught off guard. The Arcanum's power was not only devastating, it was unpredictable. Every strike it made seemed to change the very fabric of space itself, making it impossible for the alien fleet to predict the next move. Back on Earth, Blake watched in disbelief as the Arcanum's blasts continued to strike the alien fleet, one after another. It was working, but at what cost? The energy readings from the Arcanum were off the charts. It was taking every ounce of power the planet could muster, and there was no telling how long it could last. Dr. Morgan's team was doing their best to stabilize the weapon's output, but even they didn't know if the Arcanum could keep up with the alien forces for long. Blake clenched his fists. "Keep firing. We have to buy time for the rest of the planet to prepare." As the battle raged in space, the humans on Earth prepared for the inevitable next wave. The Arcanum was their hope, but they knew the fight was far from over. The aliens were not going to back down easily, and the weapon's power was rapidly draining. The first strike had been a message. The second strike had been a warning. But this third strike, this was a fight for survival. Humanity's hidden weapon had been unleashed, and for the first time, the aliens realized they were up against something they had never anticipated. But the true cost of this war was still unknown. The price humanity would pay for victory was yet to be seen. And as the Arcanum continued to fire, the galaxy held its breath, waiting for the next chapter of humanity's struggle to unfold. The battle above Earth raged on, the sky itself trembling with each strike of the Arcanum. The alien fleet, though battered and shocked, was relentless. Every blast from the weapon struck with unthinkable force, but it was clear that the power behind the Arcanum was slowly fading. The strain on Earth's infrastructure was growing, and Dr. Sarah Morgan and her team were scrambling to maintain control over the weapon's immense energy. "We can't keep this up much longer," Dr. Morgan said, her voice filled with panic as she observed the power readings on the monitors. "The Arcanum is consuming everything. Our reserves, our grid, even the core of the planet itself. If we don't shut it down soon, we'll risk tearing Earth apart." Commander Julian Blake paced back and forth, his mind racing. The weapon had worked, but at what cost? They had already seen the alien fleet begin to falter, but their retaliation was coming fast and furious. Earth's defenses were running out of time and resources. With every blast, humanity had gained a moment's advantage, but it was slipping away. "We can't stop now," Blake said, his voice hard as steel. "We fought this hard. We're not going to lose this chance. Keep the Arcanum going, at all costs." But even as the words left his mouth, Blake knew that his orders were beginning to sound more like desperation. The alien fleet was regrouping, and their own weapons were starting to charge up, preparing for the next wave of retaliation. Earth's defenses were too weak, too slow to match the aliens' technology. The Arcanum was their only hope, but it was a weapon that came with an unimaginable price. The ground below the hidden facility began to shake. Beneath the surface of the planet, the Arcanum's energy output was causing tremors, massive fractures in the Earth's crust, breaking through layers of bedrock and causing seismic waves that rattled the foundations of cities far and wide. The weapon's power was reaching its limit. Blake's communicator crackled with a voice that sent a chill through him. "Commander Blake, we have a situation. The seismic activity is escalating. We can't predict the aftershocks anymore. There's a real danger of Earth's core destabilizing. Blake's mind raced. They were already losing too much. The Arcanum was designed to be a one-time strike, but they had pushed it far beyond what anyone had anticipated. And now it was beginning to take a toll on the planet and on humanity's future. As the alien fleet's ships began to regroup, their weapons lighting up with deadly energy, the weight of the situation sank in. Humanity was facing the end of everything, and the consequences of their actions were coming due. "Do we stop?" Blake asked, his voice heavy with the burden of leadership, "or do we push forward and risk everything?" Dr. Morgan's face was pale as she turned to him. "We can't stop now. We may be able to hold them off for a while longer. But if we lose the Arcanum, we lose everything. We've come this far. We can't." Her words were cut off by a deafening roar. The entire facility shook violently, and the monitors flickered out for a moment. Everyone in the room looked up in alarm, as the sound of massive explosions echoed above them. The alien fleet had unleashed their retaliation. A blinding flash of light tore through the atmosphere, followed by a wave of heat that rattled the facility. The ground beneath their feet trembled as if the planet itself was in pain. "Hold on," Blake yelled, grabbing the edge of a table as the shockwave passed through the building. Outside, the skies over Earth had turned into a battlefield. The alien ships, now fully regrouped, fired relentlessly. Their weapons, far more advanced than Earth's, cut through the atmosphere like a hot knife through butter. They had learned from their earlier mistakes and were now coming at Earth with everything they had. But the Arcanum wasn't done yet. It pulsed again, sending a shockwave of energy into space that collided with the alien fleet, sending several ships tumbling into chaos. But for every ship destroyed, 2 more replaced it. Blake stared at the screen in disbelief. The Arcanum was slowing down. The alien fleet was advancing. The countdown to destruction was growing shorter. A sudden realization struck him. The Arcanum was never meant to be used like this. Its power had been intended for one single, decisive strike. But humanity had pushed it far beyond its limits, and in doing so, they had broken something much larger than the weapon itself. "We're running out of time," Blake said, almost to himself. "If we don't shut it down now, Earth could collapse under the pressure." Dr. Morgan's eyes met his, her face grim. "We've already reached the point of no return." And then, a final, terrible tremor shook the Earth. The ground split open, and fires erupted in the distance as another massive explosion rocked the planet. The Arcanum's power was unraveling faster than anyone had expected, and now the very core of the planet was in danger of collapsing under the strain. "We're too late," Blake whispered. The alien fleet, sensing their opportunity, prepared for the final strike. The time for humanity's survival was slipping away. But then, something unexpected happened. A signal came through the communication systems, a signal that no one could have predicted, a voice that was not human, but still familiar. It was the voice of an ancient power, the voice of something older than humanity itself, a force that had watched over Earth for eons. "We are not alone." And in that moment, humanity realized that their final hope wasn't just the Arcanum. There was something more, something hidden in the depths of their history, something that had been waiting for the moment when they would need it most. As the final battle raged above, humanity's fate lay in the balance. The cost of the Arcanum had been great, but it might not be enough to win the war. They would need more than just one weapon. They would need allies, old ones, hidden in the depths of time itself. The battle for Earth was far from over, but a new hope had emerged. As the Arcanum's energy began to flicker and wane, the alien fleet sensed victory. Their ships closed in, their weapons charging, ready to deliver the final blow. Earth's defenses were nearly crippled, the planet's infrastructure in ruins. The odds were impossible, and for the first time, Commander Julian Blake felt the weight of defeat pressing against him. But then, the signal came again, a strange, unearthly hum that reverberated through the communication channels. The voice, soft yet powerful, echoed across the planet's broken systems. "We are not alone." Blake, exhausted and battered from the constant assault, stared at the monitors. His mind struggled to make sense of the message. It wasn't coming from any human source, and it wasn't any alien signal either. It was something older, something profound, and its words carried a weight that demanded attention. "Dr. Morgan, what's happening?" Blake asked, his voice filled with a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. Dr. Sarah Morgan's eyes widened as she listened to the strange transmission. She quickly typed into the console, pulling up every possible line of data they had, trying to trace the origin of the message. Her hands trembled, but she remained focused. I don't know," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "But it's not from any known source. It's not human, and it's not alien. This signal, it's ancient, older than anything we've ever encountered." Blake's heart raced. For the first time, the sound of the battle above seemed distant. His focus was now entirely on the mysterious signal. "Where is it coming from?" It's coming from the Earth itself," Dr. Morgan replied, her voice a mix of awe and fear. "Somewhere deep beneath the surface, the energy readings are off the charts. This isn't just a message, it's something else, something buried beneath us." A sudden realization hit them both. There was something hidden within the Earth, something far older and more powerful than they could have ever imagined. It was as if the planet itself had awakened, stirring from a deep, ancient slumber. Blake's mind raced. The Arcanum. Could it have activated something? Could this be connected? Before Dr. Morgan could respond, another pulse of energy surged through the facility. The ground trembled violently beneath their feet, and then, in the far distance, a massive eruption of light and energy shot into the sky, brighter than any star. It wasn't the Arcanum's usual destructive blasts, but something entirely different, a signal of power, a warning, or perhaps a call to arms. Blake's face hardened with resolve. "We've come this far. We can't back down now. Whatever this is, we need to find it. We need to know what's down there, before it's too late." As Blake prepared to lead a team down to the heart of the Earth's secret, Dr. Morgan stayed behind, trying to stabilize the Arcanum. But as the weapon's power continued to fade, she couldn't help but feel a rising sense of dread. Something was happening that none of them had been prepared for. Far beneath Earth's surface, a vast network of tunnels and chambers stretched deep into the planet's crust. The signal had been traced to an ancient structure, one that had been hidden from the world for millennia. As Blake and his team descended into the darkness, the walls seemed to hum with an eerie energy. The air was thick with a strange, otherworldly presence that sent shivers down their spines. "What is this place?" one of the soldiers muttered, his voice echoing off the walls. "This doesn't look like anything man-made." Blake didn't answer. His focus was on the glowing symbols that adorned the walls of the chamber. They were alien in nature, yet somehow familiar. The same kind of markings he had seen in ancient texts and hidden records. These symbols spoke of an ancient civilization, one that had once walked the earth long before humanity had even existed. As the team ventured deeper, the chamber opened up into a massive hall. In the center stood an enormous towering figure, its form covered in intricate armor that shimmered with an unnatural light. The figure stood still, frozen in time, yet there was a palpable sense of power that radiated from it. The voice from the signal spoke once more, but this time it was not just a message. It was a command, echoing through the chamber like a call to arms. "Awaken, guardians of the earth. The time has come." Blake's breath caught in his throat. The ancient figure, standing silent and unmoving for eons, began to stir. Slowly it raised its head, and the light from its armor flickered to life. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity, and the ground beneath Blake's feet seemed to tremble with its awakening. This was not just a weapon. It was something more. These beings were the true protectors of Earth, guardians from a forgotten age, waiting for the moment when humanity would need them most. Blake, his mind racing with the implications, took a cautious step forward. Who are you?" The figure's voice echoed through the chamber, deep and resonant. "We are the Guardians, created to defend this world when the time of reckoning comes. We are the last line of defense. And now, that time has come." As the words settled in Blake's mind, he understood the gravity of the situation. Humanity had stumbled upon an ancient force, something that had been waiting for this exact moment, an unexpected ally in the war for Earth's survival. Above, the alien fleet continued its assault, unaware of the power that was awakening beneath them. Blake could feel the tension building as the Guardians slowly came to life, their ancient technology thrumming with newfound energy. "Prepare," the Guardian spoke, its voice as old as time itself. "The war is far from over, but we will fight beside you. The Earth will not fall." And just like that, humanity's chances had shifted. The Guardians had awoken, and with them, the true battle for the survival of the planet was about to begin. The cost of victory had just escalated, but the stakes had never been higher. Blake's eyes hardened with determination. Let's show them what humanity is capable of. As the Guardians took their first steps into the battle, the skies above Earth darkened, and the alien fleet began to realize they were not the only force in the galaxy with power beyond imagination. The war was about to take a new turn, and the true cost of Earth's survival was still unknown. The sky above Earth had turned into a battleground. The alien fleet, once confident in their inevitable victory, now found themselves facing a force they could not have anticipated. The Guardians, ancient protectors of Earth, had awakened from their long slumber, their powerful, enigmatic forms emerging from deep beneath the surface. In the skies, the alien fleet prepared their weapons, ready to strike with everything they had. The battle was fierce, the sound of laser fire and explosions deafening, but Earth's defenders were no longer alone. Commander Julian Blake stood atop a command platform, his eyes fixed on the skies as the first wave of Guardians took flight. Their technology was beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. The Guardian ships glided through the atmosphere with ease, their hulls reflecting the sunlight in a blinding flash of brilliance. These beings, though mysterious and ancient, were not simply weapons. They were warriors, each one carrying the weight of the Earth's survival. Blake's heart raced. "This is it," he muttered under his breath, watching as the Guardians engaged the alien fleet. He could see the alien ships floundering as they tried to adapt to the unexpected assault. The Guardians' weapons fired with pinpoint accuracy, each blast sending shockwaves that rippled through the enemy lines. "Commander, we have a new priority." Dr. Sarah Morgan's voice crackled through his earpiece. "The Arcanum is nearly drained. If we don't reestablish control over the energy core, we'll lose our final advantage." Blake nodded, already planning the next move. They couldn't afford to lose the Arcanum now. It was their last line of defense, and while the Guardians fought valiantly in the skies, the planet's surface was still vulnerable to the enemy's relentless assault. "Get me to the Arcanum now," Blake ordered, and moments later, a transport shuttle was on its way. The battle raged on as Blake's shuttle raced toward the heart of Earth's defense system. The Guardians, undeterred by the enemy's overwhelming numbers, continued their offensive, pushing back the alien fleet with every strike. Meanwhile, on the ground, the alien forces began to regroup, their leaders now realizing that the situation had turned dire. The once confident commanders were now scrambling to make sense of the unexpected turn of events. What had they overlooked? What power did Earth truly possess? Inside the alien flagship, the Supreme Commander, Zalcor, stood before his council. His eyes narrowed with suspicion as he observed the chaos unfolding on Earth. "This is impossible," he growled. "We did not account for this. We thought Earth was weak. But these Guardians, they are not of our making." "What are they?" His second-in-command, a sharp-eyed strategist named Lirana, bowed her head respectfully. "My lord, It seems Earth has more hidden assets than we realized. These guardians, they are not mere tools. They are alive, sentient beings. Zalkor's eyes flared with anger. That's not possible. We've scored every corner of the galaxy. There's no record of such a race. Nothing. This is a trap. We must reconsider our approach, Lorena suggested cautiously. We need to pull back, reassess. Perhaps these guardians are a mere last-ditch effort by the humans. They have no other choice. No, Zalkor snapped. We press on. If we retreat now, we show weakness. We destroy Earth and take what's ours. He turned to his fleet's command interface, preparing to unleash a devastating weapon, one that would scorch the planet's surface and annihilate everything in its path. Meanwhile, Blake arrived at the Arcanum, where Dr. Morgan and her team worked feverishly to stabilize the energy core. The once mighty weapon had begun to flicker and sputter, its energy reserves dangerously low. Blake, Dr. Morgan shouted as she saw him approach. We're losing power fast. If we don't reconnect the power conduits to the central grid, we won't be able to keep the system online. The Guardians can't hold out forever. Blake didn't waste a second. His team had already begun the process of rerouting the core's energy, but the work was complex, and time was running out. The alien forces were closing in, and the Arcanum's last remaining power could be the only thing to stop them. As Blake and Dr. Morgan worked, they couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. The Arcanum had been humanity's weapon, the one thing they had relied on to save them from the aliens' might. But now, it seemed it might be humanity's undoing if they couldn't keep it powered up. Just as they thought they were making progress, alarms blared throughout the facility. The ground shook violently as the alien fleet unleashed a bombardment, aimed directly at Earth's energy core. It's now or never. Blake yelled. We can't afford to lose this. With a final push, Dr. Morgan and Blake reconnected the final conduit. The Arcanum hummed to life again, its power surging through the system. Energy rippled outward, lighting up the sky with a brilliant flare. Above, the alien fleet was stunned as the Arcanum's full force was unleashed. A wave of energy, powerful enough to shake the very atmosphere, blasted into the alien ships. The first few ships exploded in a violent flash of light, their advanced technology no match for the raw, unleashed power of the Arcanum. The alien commanders scrambled, realizing they had underestimated the humans once again. The Guardians, bolstered by the Arcanum's revival, launched a final offensive, cutting through the alien fleet like a knife through butter. The battle was far from over, but Earth had just gained the upper hand. The alien fleet, now in disarray, began to retreat, their ships fleeing into the depths of space. We did it, Dr. Morgan said, a breathless smile crossing her face. But Blake knew this victory, though significant, was only the beginning. The true cost of the war had yet to be realized. They had only just begun to understand the full extent of the forces at play. As the Guardians looked to the skies, their battle won for now, Blake's mind raced with one question. What had the aliens really come for, and was Earth ready for the true cost of its survival? The silence that followed the retreat of the alien fleet was deafening. Earth had won, but it was a victory that came at a great cost. The battlefield, both in the skies and on the ground, was littered with the remnants of battle. The ruins of shattered ships, the broken bodies of fallen soldiers, and the eerie calm after the storm left an unsettling feeling in the air. Commander Julian Blake stood atop a ruined skyscraper, overlooking the once bustling city now scared by war. His eyes scanned the horizon as the last of the alien ships disappeared into the void of space. But even as the Earth's defense systems slowly powered down and the Guardians returned to their hidden sanctuaries, Blake couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had taken root in his chest. We did it. Dr. Sarah Morgan's voice came from behind him. She, too, had been there when the final shot had been fired, her hands stained with the marks of survival. Yet, like Blake, she carried the weight of the knowledge that this war was far from over. But at what cost? Blake asked, his voice low and filled with concern. "We lost so much," she replied, her tone somber. "Thousands of lives, untold resources, and so much more we don't even know yet. The Arcanum, our last hope, was just the beginning. The aliens, they'll come back. We haven't seen the worst of it." Blake turned, meeting her gaze. Her eyes reflected the same fears that haunted him. "But we survived. That's something, right?" Sarah nodded slowly. "We survived, but it's not the end. The galaxy knows about us now. We've made ourselves a target. The cost of survival isn't just in lives. It's in what comes next. What happens when they come back, stronger and better prepared?" Blake clenched his fists. He didn't have answers, only questions that spiraled with no resolution. How many more would have to die? How much longer could they hold out before the next wave came? And what other forces were out there, waiting, just beyond the reach of their perception? "Commander," one of his officers approached, interrupting his thoughts. "The Guardians, they're leaving." Blake's heart skipped a beat. The Guardians had been humanity's greatest asset, mysterious, ancient, and powerful. But now, it seemed, they were ready to disappear again. "Let them go," Blake said, his voice resigned. "They've done their part, but they won't be around for the next battle." Sarah watched Blake closely, her expression a mix of uncertainty and resolve. "Do you think we're ready for the next wave?" Blake shook his head. "No one's ever truly ready for war. But we've been through the worst, and now we know what we're up against." "Do you think we can stop them?" she asked. "I don't know, but Earth isn't going down without a fight," Blake said, his tone firm, "and humanity doesn't know how to quit." As the Guardians vanished into the shadows of their hidden sanctuaries, Blake couldn't help but feel a pang of gratitude mixed with fear. These beings, who had been Earth's protectors for millennia, had given humanity a chance to survive, just barely. But it was clear that the battle was far from won. The war had only just begun. And as Blake stood there, gazing at the remnants of the battlefield, he knew that the price of survival would continue to haunt them. The galaxy was vast, and with it came dangers they could not yet comprehend. The aliens were not the only threat. There were other powers, forces beyond their understanding, waiting for the right moment to strike. Humanity had shown resilience, but now the real test was about to begin. The battle for Earth's survival was far from over. Every victory, every step forward, came with a heavy burden of uncertainty, and Blake knew that there would be more sacrifices, more losses, before they would truly be safe. But in the depths of his heart, he felt the undeniable truth. Humanity's strength was their will to fight. As long as they had that, as long as they refused to back down, there was hope. And that hope would carry them through whatever the galaxy threw at them. The war wasn't over, but Earth had proven one thing: it would not go down without a fight. And this, Blake thought, was a message the entire universe would soon learn. Earth's people would stand strong, no matter the cost. The true battle had just begun.